All right. Well, I'm glad the kids are with us this morning because what I am going to talk about is something that they may know. And I think many of us adults may remember. So let me ask you, do you remember the yellow brick road? Yes. You do? What's it from? The Wizard of Oz. Now you remember. Well, I have looked at the Wizard of Oz from lots of different perspectives because the first time I actually saw that movie, we didn't have TV in those days. I saw it in the theater. We didn't have cell phones either. But I saw it in the movies. And for a good majority of that movie, I spent it behind the seat. Do you remember the part of the movie I'm talking about and why? No? When those crazy monkeys came flying in and the wicked witch and yeah. And so I ended up getting down behind the seat. You know, so that hiding, you're right. But there are some messages in this movie. Yes? Is that what? Yeah, I was littler than you. So, but there are some wonderful messages in the movie. If we look at what happened, Dorothy ended up being picked up by a great big old tornado and dropped. But in Oz, right? Someplace she didn't know. And how many times as we as adults end up in a situation or someplace we don't know, even today. And we look at the world, and what do we want to do? We want to go home. We want to find something familiar. We want to grasp on that which we know, which may or may not be good for us. I'm not saying it is, I'm not saying it isn't, but that's what we want. And that's what Dorothy wanted. She wanted to go home. So they had this, and then she ends up, and they tell her, well, you have to go see the Great Oz. Because it is only through the Great Oz that you can get home. Now, they didn't tell her that the Great Oz was a man. They just said the Great Oz. Almost like, you have to go see God. So she said, okay, how do I do that? And they said, follow the yellow brick road. So she starts out on the yellow brick road. And it takes her on a journey. And who does she meet first? Do you recall? No, not yet. Not yet. The scarecrow. Well, we're going to start with the scarecrow. Because what did the scarecrow want? Yeah, because he thought he was stupid. He thought he couldn't do anything. And he wanted a brain. So she said, "Come along with me, and we will travel the yellow brick road, and we'll go to the Great Oz. If he can get me home, he can get you a brain." So they join hands, and they start on down the yellow brick road together. Now, in the movie, they're dancing, but we'll leave my dancing back when I was a kid. And so they take off. But one of the things that I noticed now more as an adult than as a small kid is that all along the yellow brick road, and they'd get into a situation, who was it that got them out of it, the trouble? The scarecrow did. And how many times do we think we don't have those tools? We're not smart enough. We don't know enough. It's a conversation that we have. And yet, what is it that Dr. Holmes keeps telling us as we read The Science of Mind? Well, there's that, but there's a little saying: change your thinking, change your life. Very simple. Now, is it going to happen overnight? Probably not. But if we focus on something beyond what we don't have to what we can do or what we would like, but not in the reference of that we don't have something, that it's not available, that we can't, but that we can. Now, we may not be able to do it today, but we can do it. Who knew that I could work a computer back when I was a kid? There weren't even computers to be had. Or the computers that they did have were as big as this room. Seriously. And they didn't have the power that what most people have in their iPhones today. Amazing. We had, I mentioned we didn't have cell phones. We even had party lines. Who had a party line growing up? Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Okay, a party line is when you have more than one household on a phone line. So the phone may ring, but it has a special ring for your house and a special ring for somewhere else. Or you may pick it up and there's somebody else on the phone. And you get to wait until they hang up before you can use it. Isn't that fun? Or you may be trying to say something really important and they're listening. You don't know, but that's what party lines are. We had 5 different people on our party line when I was a kid. Needless to say, I didn't use the phone much. So times change, and when we thought of the future then using the frame of reference that we had then, we wouldn't see all these computers. We wouldn't see phones that you carry around in your hand. I mean, my first car phone that I had a big box in the trunk of the car, and the phone itself was great big, on a cord. in the car. And you could only use it in the car because it was on a cord, so you couldn't carry it around. I mean, things change, and it is a matter of using what we have here and what we think in this moment and expanding on it. You know, the what ifs. What if this could be? So who did they run into next? That's true, they did run into a lot of possibilities. But Dorothy and the Scarecrow then were on the yellow brick road, so who did they run into next? Tin Man. And what did he want? A heart. He wanted a heart. And yet, who was the kindest of the characters all the way through? This character that didn't have the heart. The Tin Man. But he was there for them. He just didn't realize that it was already there within him. We all have the love of God within us. Nothing is missing within us. Only our thinking makes it so. And we've all had our moments where we know that truth, capital T, truth of ourselves as children of God. And then the next moment we're defective in some way. It's called human nature. We're the only creature on the planet that was given choice of good and bad. We're the only creature on the planet that's given that ability to think. That's a gift. I mean, dogs just love us, or they don't. But they have a reason. Cats, same way. They do their own thing, and they either love us or they don't. It's just who they are. Creatures. I mean, I just heard about the man who had as pets 2 alligators. Huh? Yeah, they were big. I mean, they weren't. No, they weren't. They weren't the little things like this. They were big. And the only reason anybody found out was because one day they got out and went down and went to the neighbors. Now, whether they would have hurt the neighbor or not, I have no clue, because they've been pretty modified in terms of their relationship with people. And so we don't, but it's sure scared. I mean, I don't know what I'd do. We have a big pond in our community, and we found a small alligator in it one day. That wasn't thrilling. And when we started losing ducks around the pond, and it grew much bigger, we called the animal services so that they could come and take care of the gator and take it somewhere where it wouldn't eat our dogs and or maybe, get a child that went down to go fishing at the pond. You take them and put them somewhere else. You don't leave them. And we don't leave things where they can do harm. But let's get back to Dorothy and her buddies. So she has now the scarecrow, and we know he has a brain, whether he thinks so or not. And she has the Tin Man, and he has a heart. So then they run into who? The lion. This was before the Lion King. He could have been the great grandpa. But the lion wanted what? Courage. Okay, let's look at the word courage. The word courage, the first bit, the cour, the C-O-U-R, and I know I'm not, huh? It is. But it is that, it's also the yes, but that courage is also about heart. And then, but it is that, as he was saying, it is that impetus to move forward in the face of danger. In the face of what we might consider something dangerous, or we might consider something as not safe, but that the lion could move into that, into the face of it, without fear. But what did he learn? He learned that he might have the fear, but he could do it anyway. And we might be fearful of taking that next step in our lives, or in our jobs, or in our relationships, but that we can do it. Each and every one of us has that strength of heart. As you said, the determination to move forward in the face of unsurmountable situations. Might be a tall mountain. It might be a computer that you don't know how to work. Or a computer program that you don't know how to work. I don't know what I would do if I ever had a smartphone. I keep saying I have a dumb one. Hey, I can get my phone calls. It works. But, it is that thing of that we always have something in front of us that we may or may not want to tackle. That person that we have a problem with, that we need to forgive. And we think that it's about them. Yeah, well, of course, it's always easier to think it's them that's the problem. It's about us individually. To not forgive somebody is to drink poison thinking they're going to die. We forgive not for them because they probably don't even remember the situation. We forgive for ourselves. Now, that doesn't mean you want to hang out with them all the time. There are some people, hey, I'd just rather not hang out with, but I don't have the energy on it anymore. I don't have animosity in that direction anymore because the animosity doesn't hurt them. It builds in me. And then I'm mean to somebody I don't want to be mean to. because it becomes a part of who I am. And this is what the lion wanted to do. He wanted to release all of that. He wanted to release those things that he didn't need anymore. He wanted to face life fully. So then the four of them, and I didn't really forget Toto, but Toto was just a companion and hanging along and ever present. But they finally get to see the wizard. And what did they find out? He was just a man. But one thing he said, you guys have done it. It's all within you. You have the power, not me. You have the power to make those changes in your own life. He gave the scarecrow something that said, yes, your brain is this way. And he told a diploma. And he gave the Tin Man a heart. But it was just pretend because he already had it within him. And the same thing with the cowardly lion. It's all there. Each and every one of us has been endowed by our Creator to truly have everything we need right within ourselves. That's the message of the whole thing. It is there. Yeah, we have that. It's ours. Ours to use. God did not make us deficient in any way. In any way. Well, we grew up and we learned certain things that built our character. There's some of us that are more talented at dance than others. And there's some of us that are more creative at the art than others. But hey, I'm a great appreciator. I might not be able to put it on the canvas, but I can certainly appreciate it when somebody else does it. We each have unique and wonderful gifts and talents. Qualities. Points of character. Talents. And when we put those together, we can build anything. That's the truth of it. And then Dorothy clicked her heels 3 times and went home. And all of a sudden, all of her uncles had something where they looked an awful lot like the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and the lion. Yes. Because it's all there. And truly, life is good. It is. Regardless of what it appears in this moment or this one, life is good and getting better. All the time. And that is the truth of the matter. May you all be blessed, truly, with good, and more good. And so it is.